I'm going to need some numbers here today. Keep you on your feet. Make sure we're paying attention. Working your groups. All right, so let me start off. We're going to be, in this unit, you're going to be dealing with a lot of ratios. We've done problems this year that have ratios. You guys probably, 3 to 4. That's a ratio. Okay, that's a ratio. We could also write that as 3 over 4 as a fraction. Fractions are ratios. All right. What we're going to do this unit is we're going to have 2 ratios equal to each other. All right, 2 ratios equal, which to you guys, you've heard the word proportion before. Proportion. That's 2 ratios set equal to each other. We're going to be solving a ton of them this unit. All right, you're going to be solving a ton of them. Let's start off with number 1. I have a ratio of 2 over 5 equal to a ratio of n over 35. Whether it was last year, heck, it might have even been in middle school. Do we remember how to solve a ratio? How? How do we solve a ratio? Cross multiply, correct. Cross multiply. And I'm not even going to assume anything here. So I have 5 times n. 5n. And then I have 2 times 35, which is 70. Now my question is, all right, I get 5n and I get 70. What do I do with them? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I just get 5n and 70. You set them, after you cross multiply, you set them equal to each other and solve for the variable. So we divide both sides by 5. N is going to be equal to 14. Heck, I wish they were that easy. Yeah. Any issues? Any issues with cross multiplying? I'm going to set them equal. The hardest part is the solving at the end. This was easy, right? Divide by 5, no issues. All right, number 2. I'm going to start calling numbers now. Go ahead, cross multiply, and let me know what you get on each side of the equal sign. Cross multiply, and let me know what you get on each side of the equal sign. Here we go. 6 when you're ready.
3x equals 2x plus 6.
Good. Make sure we distribute the 2, right? Distribute the 2. It's 2 times all of x plus 1. Any questions there? Solve it. Go ahead. Solve. Solve for x. Let me know when you get it. 17 when you're ready. There we go. Are we okay with this concept? Cross multiply and set them equal, because now it's going to get real. Yeah. All right? Now it's going to get real. All right. Are we good here? I don't need a repeat of everything I say here. I don't need a parrot in class. I got enough issues in this class. Okay, number 3. First of all, it doesn't even look like a proportion. Doesn't even look like numbers 1 and 2. Until I realize that x plus 6 is over 1. Now it looks like something I can cross multiply. All right, let's do the easy part first. 1 times 13. 13. All right, here we go. Review of Algebra 1. X plus 6 times x minus 6. This is, I don't know what I hate the word FOIL. I don't know what your teachers called it last year. I like double distribute. Double distribute. First thing we do, you distribute the x. All right, and again, guys, I don't have 3-4 days to review this like maybe you did last year. If you need help on this, get in here. All right, I'm going to fly through this and review. All right, I don't have the time to do, all right, let's do 8 more examples and then 9 more on homework tonight. I don't have that time. Get in here if you know you need the help on this. X times x. Here we go. X times x. Oh, boy. Oh, here we go. X squared. X times negative 6. Minus 6x. That's distribution number 1. This is why I call it double distribution. We got to do it again. But now I'm going to distribute positive 6 times x. 6x. And then finally, 6 times negative 6. And no, it's not 0. You're multiplying. Minus 36. Keep going. 13 equals. What happens in the middle when you combine like terms? They cancel out. So all I'm left with is x squared minus 36. Questions? Got to still solve for x, though. What do you think your next move is to get x by itself? Move the 36 over. Perfect. I get 49 equals x squared. And how do you undo a squared? You square root it. Square root of 49, 7. Too bad that's not the answer. Oh, breaking news. Too bad that's not the answer. Let me put it this way. You get half credit if you rate that as your answer. I don't know if that's a hint to anybody. You would only get half credit here. Anybody remember when you take the square root of a number? Yes, you're left with the positive version, but you're also left with the negative version. So there's 2 answers here. Yes, positive 7, but also negative 7 would work. Only when you take the square root of a number, you're left with the positive and negative. Are you guys familiar with this symbol here? If I write that from now on. Plus or minus 7. We're good? All right. Instead of writing plus 7 and negative 7 out. Whoa, whoa, we good here. Do it the double distribution, and I got to take the square root. Well, sorry, taking the square root might not be an option sometimes. All right, and you can just read the top of what's coming up. All right, sometimes taking the square root won't do it, or I can't do that. All right, go ahead, cross multiply. I'll ask people what they get. Let's cross multiply. Let me know what you get on. Don't do anything. Just let me know what the left and your right side are equal to. Should just be regular distribution here. No double distribution here. 7. Let me know what you end up with here.
5x plus 30.
Good.
Equals 2x minus 2.
2x. Come on. X times x squared minus 2.
X.
We good, Ellie?
Yeah.
Okay, right? Because here you go. This is what you ended up doing. X times x minus 2. So x squared minus 2x. We all good? All right. There's no square rooting here. All right. Take a look at the previous problem real quick. If you look at the previous problem we just did, notice how it just had x squared, and that was it. Just had x squared. But isn't there a little more here now? You got x squared and a 2x. So when I have something else with the x squared, I just can't take the square root. So there's no square rooting here. Can't happen. So now, I need to solve this using a factoring method. All right, using factoring methods. I've done a couple factoring problems with you this year. That's going to be done the same way. Number 1, you don't factor unless it's equal to 0. Is one side equal to 0 yet? Nope, let's make it equal to 0. So which side should I move over? Keep your x squared positive. Is my x squared positive right now? Then don't touch it. Move over the 5x and move over the 30. Go ahead, in your group. Move over the 5x and the 30. Keep whatever's squared positive. It already is, so keep it that way. How do you move over 5x? Subtract it. How do you move over 30? Subtract it. Go. Move it over. You moved over 5x. What do you get now on the right? Minus 7x. You move the 30 over. Ask your questions now. Now it's time to factor. You're going to play a game right now. You're going to play a game. Two numbers that multiply to negative 30, but at the same time, the two numbers you pick also have to add to negative 7. You want to come in? I got plenty of practice for you. So right now in your group, you're going to talk it over. Find those two numbers that multiply to negative 30, but at the same time add to negative 7. Go right ahead. Find your two numbers. Start with the multiplying if you're struggling. Find numbers that multiply to negative 30 first and see if you can get a 7 out of it. Okay, hopefully we discussed it in your group. 6, have numbers for me.
Negative 10, 3.
Okay, negative 10, positive 3 would work. How do I write it now if you remember from last year or this year? X minus 10, X plus 3. That's what it factors into. Next, I still need values of X now. You take each parenthesis and set it equal to 0. You're going to get two answers out. $22 when we're ready. Not here. 1, when you're ready, George, let me know what your two answers are.
10 and negative 3.
Yep. So X could equal 10, or it could equal negative 3 in this proportion. Both would work. Questions from you guys? All right, you got about 2.5 minutes, you and your group, number 2. You're going to have to double distribute and factor. Go ahead. Cross multiply. Make sure you guys get the same thing when you're cross multiplying. Get one side equal to 0 and see if you can factor it. And this is
Yeah, you subtract the 3x.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, it's plus 1x. Yeah. X squared plus x.
So I got x squared. I had x squared plus x minus 12.
What do you get at first, right? When you first cross multiply.
Plus 3, you get 3x plus 15 equals x plus 1 times x plus 2. And then you get 3x plus 15 equals x squared plus 3x plus 1x plus 4.
all right. Let's talk here. I get 3x plus 15 on one side. Other side, for my double distribution side, right here, x plus 1 times x plus 3, I get x squared plus 4x plus 3. So that's what I end up getting on both sides. Get in here if you need help. Now it's time to set equal to 0. My x squared is already positive. Keep it positive. How do I move the 3x over? Subtract it. How do I move the 15 over? Subtract it. So after I'm all done, it should be x squared plus 1x minus 12 when it's all said and done, after I move everything over. Questions? If you haven't done so in your group, let's go, factor it. Two numbers that do this and add to this. Multiply to this and add to this. And what are your numbers? What are your numbers here? 8 numbers.
I don't know yet. Is it 3 and 4?
All right, 3 and 4 are your numbers. Now I got to put signs in front.
Is it negative?
Both.
No, negative 3 and positive 4.
All right, does it add to positive 1? Yep, that's what my middle term needed to be. Correct. So x minus 3 and x plus 4. Now again, once you're factored, you set each of them equal to 0 and solve. So we end up with my 2 final answers here. 10. Yep, positive 3, negative 4. Great job. There's my 2 answers. 3 and negative 4. Questions from you guys? All right, let's go. Number 3 on your own or in your group, whichever. Come on.
X2 plus 1. So it multiplies to oh, I gotta take it divided by. So x implies that I get 5 and you get x squared.
Okay, so here you go. When you cross multiply it, x squared plus x equals 20. Move the 20 over because the x squared is already positive. So I end up with x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. Factor 2 numbers that multiply to this and add to this. What are my 2 numbers going to be here? 5. Don't have one. 20. Positive 5 and negative 4. Everyone good? Adds to 1, multiplies the negative 20. Then set them equal to 0. And let me know what your 2 answers for x are. 9.
I got 5 and negative 4.
We got that. That's what we get inside. But now I got to solve it for x now.
Negative 5 and positive 4.
Negative 5, positive 4 for my 2 answers. All right, we okay here? Questions? All right, I'm going to make a decision right now. Let's just stay with this method of factoring. Okay, so cross out number 4 because this is going to be a different method, and I just want to stay here while we're good at it. So go to tonight's homework on pages 5 and 6 right now, and cross out number 7. All right, we'll just stick to this method of factoring. Multiply to this and add to this. All right? Number 7 on tonight's homework. Don't worry about it. All right, well, that was great. You know, we got in this good groove of factoring, reminding ourselves how to factor. Now, all of a sudden, what if you can't factor it? But I'm still asking you guys to solve for x. Okay, I can't factor. What if I still need an answer, though? Before I get into the solution to how to figure that out, let's review breaking down radicals. Let's review breaking down radicals. Have I asked you to do this year? Yeah, that's what I figured. Yep. Before we do, you're going to need to know your perfect squares to do this. All right, we need to know our perfect squares before we get going. Anybody know a number that's considered a perfect square? Carter?
4.
Yeah, 4 is. Anybody want to? 16. Let me put one in between there, 9. Okay, just before we keep going and rattle them off, we're not memorizing these. 4 is 2 squared. 9 is 3 squared. 16 is, what do you think another one is? 5 squared. 6 squared. Yep, and you guys get the gist here. All right, I won't go any higher, but that's how you find a perfect square. Just square any number, and it's a perfect square. All right, so how do I break down a radical? Little review again. I want to break down 72. You break it up into 2 radicals first. Underneath the first one is the, ready? Biggest, not any, the biggest perfect square that goes into 72 evenly. So we do 72 divided by 4. I don't know, does it? No? Okay, it doesn't go in evenly. We do 72 divided by 9. Oh, yeah. But hold your horses. There might be a bigger one, so check a couple more first. Don't just settle on the first one you find. Because 9 is not the biggest one, is it? Keep going. What do you find? What else goes into it? 36. Yeah, 36 times 2. So that's what I put in the radicals, 36 and 2. Biggest one first. All right, let's finish it up now. Square root of 36 is just 6. Don't put a radical. It's done. And then I bring the radical 2 along for the ride. 6 radical 2, simplified. You ready for 32? Go ahead. You do it by yourself. Talk in your group about it. All right, what are you finding? Biggest square root, or biggest perfect square that goes into 32? Oh, 12. 16. Good job, Luke. Times 2. Not always times 2. Could be times 3. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 2. Any issues yet? All right, 2 more I want to simplify. I got square root of 48 over 2. First thing, let's clear this out of the way in case anybody wants to try it. It is not equal to square root of 24. No. Okay, that's not how this works. One's underneath the radical and one is not, so you cannot divide them. But I can break down 48 in your group. Go ahead, break down 48. Let me know. Biggest perfect square. Biggest perfect square that goes into 48. 4 does work. Might be something bigger. Keep checking. What's the perfect square you found? Hopefully 16? 24 is not a perfect square. Right? Got to be a perfect square. 24 is not a perfect square, though. All right? But 16 is times 3. Got to be a perfect square. All right, keep going. What's that top going to look like? 4 radical 3 over 2. And this is why I'm doing these problems with you. You can go one more step. It's not simplified yet. Not simplified. What do you think you can do? Without even me trying to push you somewhere. What do you think you can do? Divide 4 and 2. So my final simplified answer here would be 2 radical 3. There's my final simplified answer. All right? Go ahead, you and your group, see what you can do with 4. You cannot divide 150 and 5. Don't try it. One's underneath the radical, the other is not. But break down 150 now. Got to be a perfect square. Find a perfect square. What's your perfect square this time? That went into 150. 25, yeah. That's your perfect square times 6. Yep. Over 5. All right, top turns into 5 square root 6 over 5. Anything else you think you could simplify? Yeah, the 5s can go. Yep. So radical 6 is my simplified answer there. Questions? Breaking down these radicals. And there's a reason why we're breaking them down, because you're going to need that skill coming up here now. Any questions breaking them down? Got to be the biggest, and it's got to be a perfect square. All right, here we go. Remember, we just factored a couple there? Now the question is, what happens if you can't factor it? Okay, what happens if you can't factor it? So on this first problem, you guys cross multiplied. You set it equal to 0, and this is what I got. X squared plus 2x minus 1. And some of you are like, you know what? I'm starting to get the hang of this factoring thing. I'm starting to get the hang of it. So you're like, all right, here I go. X. I need 2 numbers that multiply to 1 on this problem. That multiply to -1, but add to +2. So only 2 numbers that multiply to 1. 1 and 1, right? Anybody put the signs, though? That I can make them multiply to -1 while at the same time add to 2. Are you going to be able to put a set of signs there? Are we all in agreement? Nothing's going to do it. Because if I go plus, that doesn't multiply to -1. Everyone agree? All right, so this cannot be factored. Cannot be factored. All right, then what do I do? But I still have to answer for x, though. Now we turn our attention to, I can't factor, so I use what's called the quadratic formula. Yes, last year? Okay, well, whether you saw it or not, here we go. The only good news I can bring to you today is I will give you that formula on a test or quiz. It does not need to be memorized, but you guys still know how to use it. Just because I have it in front of your face doesn't mean anything. I got to know how to use it. All right, you will notice in the formula you have 3 variables, A, B, and C. Those numbers that you're going to plug in for A, B, and C, you get from your equation. The A value is the number in front of the squared term. So if I have x squared, what's the number out in front if nothing's there? So we say A equals 1. That's your A value. Your B value is the number in front of the x term. What's the number in front of my x term here? +2. And my C value is the number without a variable, which would be -1. The sign travels with it. So the first thing you want to do when you're going to use quadratic formula, what's my A, my B, and my C? Now it's plug and chug. So I go to the formula. Here we go. I'm going to slow it down. X is going to be equal to -b. What was my b value? but I want to put a negative in front. -2. God, worst time this could happen. Plus or minus, don't do a thing inside the parenthesis. I was trying to teach you. John Carlino. Hi, Jazz. Yes, I do. Yeah, no problem. Yep. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Lisa, end of class. Go up to the front desk at the very front of the school. I guess they got something like that. Okay. Right where the auditorium is, all the way up front. All right, next. Now, underneath here's got to go b squared minus 4 times a times c. I've been doing this a while, and I can't tell you how many times kids screw up like negative signs. A negative times a negative is not a positive anymore. Too many times, this number you get underneath the radical is incorrect. So let's make a way right now. We will never get it incorrect. Grab your calculator. You have values for A, B, and C. We're going to tell your calculator those values now. What's my A value? 1. Everyone type in 1. Then you have a store key, STO, right next to the 1. Store it in for what variable? A. A is located right above your math. Everyone see it? So alpha, math. Enter. It's in there for A. What's your B value? So hit 2, hit the number first, store, and the letters go in alphabetical order. So B is right next to A, where apps is. So alpha, apps, stored in for B. And what's your C value? So make sure you hit your negative sign, -1. Store it in for C. I'll let you guys catch up there. All good? Now we need to ask the calculator, could you please give me the value of b squared minus 4ac, because that number is going to go underneath my radical. So go back. You know where b, c, and a are. So ready? b squared, and your calculator is going to plug in the numbers for you. You don't have to do it. Minus 4, alpha math, a, c. And your calculator is going to store those numbers in for you right now and tell you that value is equal to 8. So that's the number that should go underneath your radical right now is 8. Questions on those? Store in 8 underneath the radical. All over. All over. What goes on the bottom? 2 times, what was my A value? 2 times 1? 2. Everyone good? All right. I don't want decimal answers. Very rarely in this unit am I going to want decimal answers. I want you to keep it in simplest radical form. That's why we just did all those work with those 4 problems. Because guess what I can do with the square root of 8? Simplify it. -2 plus or minus. Go ahead in your group right now. Simplify square root of 8. We just had plenty of practice with it. Simplify the square root of 8. And rewrite its simplified version in the quadratic formula. So if I take square root of 8 and simplify it, it'll be 2 square root of 2. You guys wondering if you didn't get that? It breaks down to 4 and 2. And that's how I got 2 radical 2. Questions on this part? Because we're not done. It's not simplified yet. It's not simplified. Why not? What do you think? Why am I saying it's not simplified, Emma?
You need to divide -2 by 2.
Everything I can divide by 2. All right, everything is divisible by 2. So ready? Let me do it this way, make it easy on you guys. Ready? That half, the left side of the plus or minus, what do you get? -1. So equals -1 plus or minus. Whoa, we're not done. I could still divide this side by 2 and get what? Remember, I can't touch the radical 2. That's underneath the radical. But what happens to the 2's? They divide out, so it should be -1 plus or minus just you can put 1 radical 2 or just radical 2. Both sides get divided by 2. Both sides are divisible by 2. Everyone see that? The left and the right divisible by 2. And there is my final answer. -1 plus or minus radical 2. This is only if I cannot factor. I have to use quadratic formula to solve. Next, we're going to go right up to the bell today, obviously. What's the problem before I do anything? What don't you like about that right away? Got to equal 0. I can't factor, I can't do quadratic formula unless it's equal to 0. And when you make it equal to 0, how about we write it in the correct order too? 3x squared minus 5x minus 1. I don't know if some of you guys are going to try to factor that. Probably not, because there's a 3 out in front. What would be your A value here? A? 3. B? -5. And C? -1. And that's probably, all I'll have time for. And then I plug it into quadratic formula. Show some work tonight for the answer key. You'll see why when you guys look at the answer key tonight. A little surprise on there for you.